the best rider in cycling history, the great legend. But Eddy Merckx also made mistakes. Do you want to know what happened during the 1973 World Cycling Championships in Barcelona? Follow my wheel and I'll tell you. The 1973 Road Cycling World Championship was held in the Spanish city of Barcelona, with start and finish in the emblematic Montjuic Park. It was a tough race, 248 kilometers in 17 laps of a circuit with the well-known ascent to Montjuic, which made it a very demanding test. The World Championship was going to be a duel between Eddy Merckx and the Spaniard Luis Ocaña, who had been the best riders during that long season. Ocaña had won his first Tour de France, while the Belgian cyclist won the Giro and the Vuelta a España. Merckx did not participate in that year's tour. From the early hours of the morning, an expected crowd filled the circuit of Barcelona. Nobody wanted to miss the great duel of world cycling. Belgium was a fantastic team. The Cannibal would have the help of high-level riders like Van Springel, Martens, or De Vlaeminck. However, Ocaña would have the support of the Spanish cyclists throughout the race, highlighting the work of Perurena, Balaguer, or Pedro Torres. The race started on a splendid sunny day. Everything was prepared for an unprecedented spectacle. However, the peloton circulated through the first turns very calmly. The hard ascent to Montjuic was no joke. As was written in the script, Spain and Belgium led the large group of 96 participants. The pace was increasing, and little by little, the passage of the laps was noticeable in the legs of the cyclists. The first attempts and escapes began, and at each step along the finish line, the peloton was continuously losing units. At that time, the work of the Spaniard Balaguer was very important, attentive to all the movements in the head, doing a sensational job for his leader, Ocaña. It was another of Ocaña's companions who, with a strong acceleration, broke the group definitively. Only 7 cyclists stayed ahead: Battaglini and Gimondi for Italy, Perurena and Ocaña for Spain, the rider from the Netherlands, Zoetemelk, and the Belgians, Martens and Eddy Merckx. The terrible effort was beginning to take its toll on the cyclists. The group of 7 was reduced to just 4, with only 2 laps to go. First, Battaglini and later Perurena and Zoetemelk had to surrender to the higher level of their fellow breakaways. The rest of the peloton were more than 2 minutes behind. Gimondi, Martens, Merckx, and Ocaña were going to dispute the World Championship. Pedro Torres was a few meters away from contacting, but finally, he didn't get it. Ocaña would have to fight alone against the Belgians. The Italian Gimondi didn't enter the bets. Twists of fate. During the ascents to the top of Montjuic, Luis Ocaña tortured his companions without mercy. The Spaniard's pace was very strong, but his rivals were the strongest riders of the moment. The Spaniard's efforts were in vain. However, he tried tirelessly. He was expending strength that he was going to need later. He was the slowest of the 4, and he knew his best option was to go at it alone. But Merckx was an extraordinary broker and wouldn't let him go. The Belgian had the help of his compatriot Martens, a young cyclist of 21 years old who would later become one of the best riders in the world. At that time, he was under the orders of Merckx, or so we all thought. The die was cast. The 4 fantastic cyclists were going to compete for the gold medal. The Spaniard, the Italian, and the Belgians faced the last lap with the certainty that one of them would not win a medal, an ascent and a plane to wear the rainbow jersey. The Spaniard tried again on the last climb to Montjuic with all his soul, but the forces were at the limit, and he could not abandon any of his rivals. Everything was going to be decided in the sprint. During the plane, the looks and distrust began. A great Belgian doubt hung in the air. Martens was the fastest, but Merckx was Merckx, the legend, the best racer in the world, the great tyrant. The 21-year-old was to be under the yoke of the great champion, and that was the big mistake. What happened on the way to the finish line is cycling history, a situation that caused great uproar, many speculations, and false legends. But what really happened, only the protagonists know. At 500 meters from the finish, it isn't known whether to launch his teammate or actually looking for victory. Martens launches a brutal attack. Merckx and his two rivals can follow the Belgian's wheel with great difficulty, and at the right moment that Merckx tries to overtake his compatriot in the sprint, his strength fails him. It seems that Martins is going to be proclaimed world champion ahead of the powerful Eddy Merckx, but when nobody counted on him, Gimondi appears behind, is placed at the height of the Belgian, and to the surprise of all, surpasses him with the last kidney stroke on the same finish line, stealing the victory deservedly. Felice Gimondi proclaimed himself thus, before the incredulous gaze of the Belgian cyclists, world champion of road cycling in 1973. In addition, Ocaña managed to overcome Merckx, getting the bronze medal and leaving the great champion dejected before one of the biggest mistakes of his sporting career.